Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with 5 things newcomers should know about Persona 5. This is a series I'm so deeply invested in and love to death. I play it all the time on the side, but I don't talk about it much on the channel outside of the podcast because I know my channel likes to focus on Western RPGs, but I feel like considering this is my most anticipated game of 2017, and on top of that, I know so much about the series that I'd be doing my audience a disservice if I didn't at least try to give you guys an opportunity to learn about this awesome franchise on what you could do to get involved if you're new to it. Starting off with number 1, which is no, you don't have to play the early entries to know what's happening in the Persona storyline. It does help with some general understandings on what's happening in the game, such as summoning personas, social links, and so on, but I'll get into that in a little bit. For now, I just want to establish that no, you don't have to play 1, 2, 3, or 4, any of the spin-offs whatsoever. They're each standalone stories on their own. Now, they do feature Easter eggs, such as in Persona 4, you visit Tatsumi Port Island, and that was a really cool moment as someone who's played Persona 3 and 4 to go back there and 4 and experience that again, hear some of the music once again, and really bring back some good memories. But for someone who hasn't played the game, it's a pretty truncated moment where it's not a big deal if you don't know what's going on. But like I said, this series is good with rewarding people who are invested in it, but if you haven't played it before, that's okay. Think of it like Final Fantasy 15. I know a lot of people on my channel who watch have played that game, and it's the same exact scenario with that franchise as well, that yeah, you can go ahead and start at Final Fantasy 12 or 7, or you can start at 15. It doesn't matter because each one is its own standalone story. Each entry has the groundwork from previous entries that would make it a much more enjoyable experience for those who have played previous entries in the franchise. The second thing is something very important to know about is that these games are big investments and have a notoriously slow start that usually takes about 4 or 5 hours to really ramp up. I know in the RPG genre, we're pretty used to that, but in Persona, it's something different because you might not be too interested in what's going on because A, there's so many characters to know, B, it's such a complex plot, and I'm talking a huge investment. Like, these games are over 100 hours long, and that's not incorporating a new game plus, which you'll almost certainly do to max out the rest of your social links, collect what you didn't get, and essentially see all the secrets you may have missed the first time around, as well as unlock a bonus ending, which is in Persona 4 Golden. Now, I know a lot of people don't like slow starts, and I'm right there with you, but what's important to note is once you beat Persona, you'll understand why there was such a slow start, because there is so much to process. It is a very vast game. There are relationships to handle, whether you're hanging out with friends, there's jobs, there's money to earn, you have to slay shadows, there's a type of dungeon crawling. You're essentially balancing a second life, and so I would personally rather someone who's coming into the franchise take their time and get each piece of the game explained to them and allow them to have the ability to learn more as they get more and more invested in that playthrough, rather than hitting them with everything at once and saying, here you go, get started. Because for me personally, as someone who started playing Persona games many years back, I remember my first Persona was Persona 4, and thanks to the slow start, I wasn't entirely overwhelmed, but even with the slow start, you do get overwhelmed with all the options you have. Now, we were talking about options, and that's one thing that's worth mentioning in Persona games is that you should keep an eye out for secrets and choices. I did talk a little bit about the Persona 4 Golden ending. I will not give any spoilers whatsoever in this video, but just know that, ladies and gentlemen, you have to make very specific selections in your choices to get a true ending, to get a golden ending, and I know we love that in our video games. I think Persona 4 had about 7 different endings, which is really awesome to hear, but the choices don't end there. It's a lot about the day-to-day choices you make, who you hang out with, who you're snubbing, what you say in those conversations with your friends, whether or not you're going to increase that social rank to the max, what arcana are you going to line your persona up with, and so on. There's choices everywhere. Like I said, there's secrets such as the Easter egg with Persona 3 setting inside Persona 4, on top of many others such as the fish inside a shop in Persona 4 being named Akihiko, which is one of the main characters inside the cast of Persona 3. So there's a lot of secrets that you can unveil in this series, so it's good to get invested and also to read up on the inevitable tons of guides that are going to be out there to display all these secrets. You'll see what I mean when the game comes out. But I've been saying Persona this, Persona that. Number 4. What the hell is a persona? That's probably the most important thing to know, so I shouldn't have waited this long to explain it, but I got ahead of myself. In technical terms, a persona is a manifestation of your psyche. For understanding's purpose, think of them as, we'll say, Pokemon. Each persona is categorized under a tarot card, so you'll find a Black Frost underneath a magician and an Oni underneath the devil, so on. They have various skills that serve as magic and physical attacks, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. There are tons of persona to collect, and only the player character character, aka you, can shift between arcana and utilize different persona. As they level up, they unlock new skills, and you can fuse multiple personas together to make brand new, higher level ones of your own creation. You can also collect new ones during shuffle time, which occasionally occurs after the battle and is a mini game designed to reward the player with boosts and new persona. Persona are also strengthened through your social links, which brings us to number 5. We've talked about hanging out with friends, making decisions. What's all of that mean? Well, number 5 is the beauty of social links and day-to-day life in Persona. What is great about the Persona series is how different it is from any other video game out there. Like I said, you live out that day-to-day life, choosing how you spend your time, whether it is through working a job, hanging out with your friends, studying, doing odd hobbies, and so on. The options are limitless. At times, with the way you end up planning things out, it feels like you're having a second life and makes you question why you prioritize studying so much in the game because you want to pass that important midterm exam, but then you never did the same in real life, right? I've been there, trust me. Persona gives you an array of awesome characters to hang out with. Each character is tied to one of the arcana I mentioned earlier, which is where the personas are. Take Yosuke Hanamura in Persona 4 as an example, who is my personal favorite character in the entire franchise. Love him, and he is linked to the Magician. As I progress in my friendship with him, my social link rank increases, which in turn gives a boost to the XP of the persona that are under that tarot card. So when I'm crafting and fusing new ones under the Magician one, guess what? They're going to be a higher level than what they normally would have been. So not only is spending time with friends rewarding because of how well written the game is, on top of the interesting characters they provide, but also that it loops into the gameplay where you're crushing baddies, making it all the more rewarding. So those are 5 things I felt newcomers to Persona should know about Persona 5, because it's lining up to be the best-selling Persona game yet, so I figured there's going to be a lot of new faces entering the franchise, and I thought this would be a good video for those who are curious about different things in the Persona franchise. If you have any more questions that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to sound off in the comments down below. I'd love to answer your question as fully as possible, and I'm sure there are other Persona fans on the channel because I've seen you guys comment before when I use the music almost all the time in my videos. So if you guys want to answer those questions as well, feel free to get involved. I'm looking forward to a nice Persona discussion. As always, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description down below. Consider contributing to the Patreon. It helps fuel all the content we create here. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.